So the child asks, Father, I see things that are different today, and on this feast than on normal holiday feasts. For one thing, I notice that we don't have our regular bread that has risen. We've got these crackery matzah things that are unleavened flour that hasn't had a chance to rise. This is one of the differences, and during the holiday Pesach, we're not going to be eating bread, we're going to be eating this kind of product. The second thing is that the child will notice that typically we don't eat bitter herbs, but tonight we're actually obligated to eat a bitter herb that will cause us to feel, taste the bitterness of slavery. And additionally, tonight when we dip our foods into salt, we're not going to dip once, we're going to dip twice to show that it's a different kind of night. And we're going to eat like kings tonight. We're going to have our fanciest meal. Why? Because when in the olden days of Israel, the tribes of Israel, one of which was Judah or Yehuda, there was famine in the land of Israel, and the Hebrews went to Egypt, where they had stored grain. And in that stored grain along the Nile, they were enslaved by the Pharaoh. And at that point, they were put into work. They were placed into work, and they built cities. They built probably some pyramids and some other things like that. But their numbers grew. They multiplied. And they were told, and it was told to the pharaohs by his advisors, that this group of slaves were going to revolt because they were multiplying too fast. And so he commanded that the firstborn son of each of these families, that would be you, were going to be put to death and thrown to the Nile to die. And one particular son, his name was Moshe or Moses, was thrown into the Nile, but he was spared, and he was saved. And he was saved by the Pharaoh's daughter. And so he actually was adopted by her and grew up in the palace. And he would end up getting the educational benefits and everything of a Pharaoh's son, even though he wasn't. But he was a Jew. And it turned out that he was Moses, and he turned out to be a prophet and had a connection with God, and was advised that when the time came for the revolt, that he would be the one that would lead it. And they went to Pharaoh and they asked him, let my people go. But he didn't want to. He wanted them to be the slaves. And each time they went to him, he refused, and his heart hardened, and he said, I wouldn't do it. But God made a miracle of sorts and cast 10 plagues upon Egypt. There was, the water had turned to blood, there were frogs everywhere, locusts, all kinds of different hail, different natural disasters took place. And in the process, each time the Pharaoh was going to, said, please stop this plague, but wouldn't let them go. And finally, the ultimate came when